Hey, good morning, Jacques. How are you?
I'm doing outstanding. I'm talking to Garth Brooks.
Entering his second year as the LSU head football coach.
It was the only way I could get a foot in the door.
Joined by the icon, Kim Mulkey. Hey, Coach, great to see you. All right, we're here in Lafayette in the office of the head coach of the Ragin Cajuns, Michael Desormeaux. He's entering his fourth year as the head coach. He's been here much longer than that. Of course, he played here as well. Coach, thanks for having us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Great to see you.
You too.
All right, so I'm going to ask you probably a ton of goofy questions. Let me just start with this one. So the R is silent in your name.
Yeah.
And your distant relative is Kent Desormeaux.
Correct.
Who is the famous jockey from this area, but we pronounce it Desormeaux.
Yeah, the only people I know that say Desormeaux are from New Iberia, so it's a whole thing, But yeah, I don't really fight it a whole lot anymore. I've been called worse, so it's we'll deal with it.
Tomato, right?
That's right.
Yeah, I heard that in New Iberia, Desormeaux, outside of New Iberia, Desormeaux, typically.
Pretty much, yeah.
Well, tell me about entering year 4 here. And last year was a big year for you guys. You won 10 games. You made it to the conference championship game. I know you talked about it didn't end the way you wanted to.
Right.
But just year 4 coming up, just your general thoughts.
Well, we knew in the first couple of years that we were going to have to build this thing back a little bit. Kind of the nature, that year right when I took over at the end of 21, beginning of 22, that was the beginning. That was the first year of the transfer portal and NIL combined. And I don't think anyone really anticipated the fallout that would come from that, for a lot of people, particularly when you have a head coaching change. We made a conscious effort from day one that we were going to work to build this thing back to where we wanted it, recruiting high school kids and recruiting our footprint, recruiting really good kids that wanted to be here, developing them, and then, working hard to retain them. So we knew it would take a little time. Year 1, man, we had some kids that stayed with this program that I'm forever grateful for. Year 2, we were really young, talented. We didn't handle success very well, to be honest with you. Our biggest wins were kind of followed by some of the worst losses. And in year 3, you kind of felt like, you had time to get the pieces in place, and you had time to develop a little bit of maturity on your team. And, last year our kids did a great job. Our staff really had them believing. So it was, a lot of fun the way it started. Certainly didn't end the way we wanted. But sometimes that's a good thing. I think you build off the confidence that you created last year. But certainly there's still a hunger. There's still a relentless pursuit of coming up a little bit short. And it's been a good thing for us this year. We have a veteran team again. We've got 20 seniors this year, guys that are excited about what's in front of us, and really confident right now off of what we've done last year, but certainly off the work we've continued to do through the first 7 months of this year.
Yeah, in this new era now of this transfer portal, I read that you only took 7.
Correct.
In the off season. I've heard the Lane Kiffins of the world and whatnot talking about, hey, we've flipped over 50, 60 guys on a roster, and maybe that's not good for college football. It's the nature of the beast. But you're here in Louisiana, obviously. You feel like you can recruit this area for the most part and get what you need?
Yeah, I do. I think we're getting better high school kids than maybe we ever have because, right when this whole thing took off, there was no blueprint for really how to do it, and everyone had to figure out what fit best in their program and really to their liking. And there's a lot of different ways to be successful. You certainly can't argue with the success that some of these teams have had by using the portal really heavily. It's just the way I like to do it. I enjoy recruiting. Getting to know families and getting to know kids. When you recruit them out of high school, you have a really long recruiting process where you get to know them. And we kind of zigged where everybody else zagged a little bit. And it was a little bit of a leap of faith, but I had conviction that we could do it that way and we could continue to build it a little bit more, I guess, the old-fashioned way, kind of a little bit more old-school approach. And I feel really good about where we are right now as a team. The thing that I was told was, man, you're not going to be able to keep good ones. And certainly everyone loses players every year. That's just what it is. But we've been able to retain, 95% of the roster that we want to keep here and need to keep here. And, that's the way it has to be. And we got to be able to continue to do that. But, we believe we could in a place like Lafayette at UL where you have really good people. You got great community support. We have an administration that really helps us in every step of the way. And then you got a coaching staff that, we believe in relationships and getting to know people at a much deeper level than just the surface.
Yeah, well, that's kind of my question as a guy who grew up around here watching Brian Mitchell in the late 80s and then Jake Delhomme in the 90s. Would a player like that these days, could you keep him here for 3 or 4 years? Or would someone come along and pluck him away? You don't even want to think about Brian Mitchell playing for somebody else, but that just kind of crosses my mind.
Yeah, that's the challenge in it, you got to recruit kids that see value in being here and being a part of this. That see it as more than just a stepping stone. And, for some guys, they have chosen to move on, and truthfully, some guys that we didn't want to leave. But that's just kind of part of what the game is now. I mean, the thing I tell people all the time is don't lose focus over how many of our guys choose to stay that are really good football players, that have played great for us, that represent our program the right way, that make you proud that they wear the vermilion and white. And, I think hypothetically it's hard to ever say, would you have been able to keep them, would you not have? But I know for us now it's a priority, right? The retainment piece is a huge priority, and it's something that, you're constantly working through. It seems like every year there's a new wrinkle kind of in this thing so far, and now it's rev share and all these different things. So you just got to continue you got to get excited about the changes, and figuring out how it can work to your benefit. At the end of the day, the changes are happening and it's coming, and you can sit there and complain about it and talk about the good old days the way it was, or you can be proactive and you can try to get in front of it, and that's what we choose to do. Because at the end of the day, this place means a whole lot to me, and we want to build this for long-term sustained success, not just a one-year flash.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to talk to you too long about stuff like NIL because I know it's necessary, but I find it boring. I'd rather talk to you about football.
Sounds good. I'd rather talk about football too.
But you're from New Iberia.
Yep.
This was probably your dream to play here, right? And you got to live that out. And so I think a lot of fans feel that way no matter what school they root for. It's like the movie Rudy, right? I'd do anything to run out of that tunnel.
That's right.
Not, hey, you give me, this is a stick up, give me all you got. But what is NIL support here in Lafayette like, and how big of a role is it playing these days in terms of who plays here?
Well, I think our community has really come around to it. I think at first there was probably some hesitation to kind of understanding what it is. But I think as time has gone on, people have seen how necessary it is, and it's gotten better every year since we've been here. The community has really helped us keep our roster intact, and we're proud that we've been able to keep this thing in place for 3 years. You look around, just our league in particular, we're able to retain at a higher level than a lot of other people, and that's something we're proud of. And the community plays a huge role in that. I think it's gone from, I don't want to say hesitant, but kind of reluctant to a little bit more curiosity, kind of tell me about this a little bit, how it plays into the role that we need it to play for us, to now it's turned into, hey, how can we help? And that's what you need, and certainly for us, we try to educate as many people as we can about how we use NIL and how it's been a huge piece of us being able to have success over here.
I looked up and did a quick Google search. So Lafayette, Louisiana is 124,000 population, what it says. Places like Broussard are just exploding on the outskirts, right? There's no place like Lafayette, Louisiana in terms of food, culture, people. It's most people that come here don't leave. Matt Sullivan, SID here. He's been here, stayed here. So how special is this place?
We sell Lafayette as a community whenever we recruit people, and we take them all over town, and we take them, to see all the different things that we have to offer. But I think the more people get entrenched in the community they see, it's really good people. It's genuine people that really, it's fun to be a part of something people are excited about, right? And the people here, they're good people. They're excited about the university. They're excited about the football program, and for kids, it's fun. It's fun to be a part of something that people believe in. I mean, our community raised $65 million to renovate the stadium. It's fun to be a part of something that people want to support. And we sell Lafayette. I mean, my wife and I, we moved here 21 years ago. Whenever we got out of high school, and really we've lived in Lafayette ever since. It's just become a really good place to raise our family. And certainly this university and this community has supported me. I mean, they said yes to me as a player. They said yes to me as an assistant coach, and then now having the opportunity and the privilege to lead this team as the head coach, it's better than you could have ever prayed for or dreamed of. And I'll always be grateful to this community for that.
Yeah, I want to talk to you about the stadium. You talk about leading. So I saw Billy Napier at SEC Media Days last week, had a chance to talk to him. And when you get this job, I guess people would say you got big shoes to fill, but it's not like you came from somewhere else. You could say, well, I was part of building those shoes, right? I mean, you did everything with Napier as an assistant coach here. So you knew what you had built, and you knew what you were following up.
I always felt Coach Napier had a way of making everyone feel like they added value to the program. And it was no different with me. From day one, he made me feel like I mattered here, and made me feel like I was an integral part of what we were building. And, whenever he moved on and took the job at Florida, I knew what the knock on me was going to be. I didn't have college head coaching experience. I hadn't been anywhere else. But my thing was, but I know what it takes here. And I know what this place is about. I know, hey, every place has problems. I know the problems that we have here, and I understand them really well. And to me, that was the key piece of it, was I know what it takes here. And, this is the only job I cared about. It was the only one that I wanted. I got to see him build it, man, brick by brick. And you talk about shoes to fill. I mean, the biggest thing to me is you always want to leave a place better than where you found it. And that's the hardest part about this, because, Ricky Bussell elevated the program in his tenure here. Mark Hudspeth absolutely did the same thing, took us to bowl games and things that, 9-win seasons. And then Coach Napier had the most successful 4-year run in the school history. That's a tough task to follow, truthfully. But we're up for it, and we're here for it. And I know it can be done here. I know how special this place is, and I know we have so many pieces in place. We just got to keep chipping away at it.
And he's in a pressure cooker there, right? I mean, you take an SEC job, we know what it is. But just my interactions with him over the years, I don't know how anybody could dislike him, right? I mean, if he doesn't win enough games, okay, we make a change. But anybody to meet Billy Napier, chat with him, and say that's a bad guy, I think you're getting the wrong read.
There's no doubt. I don't know how you couldn't personally like the guy. He's a great football coach, man, and he's a great football mind. He studies it, and he's really intelligent, really smart, but he's an elite human. And, the way he treats people on a daily basis, there's so many people where, stuff rolls downhill, right? We've all heard that saying. With him, that's just not how it is, because he's got this poise, and he's got, under pressure, he just handles things with grace. I mean, he was always better after a loss than he was after a win, he just never made you feel like the sky is falling. And I think, handling difficult things with grace, something you have to be able to do in this position, because you have a lot of people that work for you, under you, with you, however you want to say it, but a lot of people that work with you, that they're looking at you all the time, when things are good, when things are bad. And, with Coach Napier, that was the thing, it was just every day was about the process and what it took to get better the next day and what it took to get things corrected. And it didn't matter if you won or you lost. That process is the same day in and day out. And, I think when you have someone in a leadership position like that, it made you hungry to go to work for him, and it makes you want to go and do your job really well for him. And, pressure is all a relative thing. No one puts more pressure on coaches than we put on ourselves. No one expects to win more than Billy does. And I know that's how he's approached it from day one. So to see them turn around last year was not a surprise. And, I expect him to have a great year this year.
Yeah. His first year here, 7-7, 5-3 in the conference. Then the next 3 years combined, 33-7, 27-5 in your league. Just me looking as somebody who went to school here, there's a tad bit of frustration. You've had a great relationship with the New Orleans Bowl and filled that place up and everything. But when you go 12-1 and 8-0 in your league and you're still in the New Orleans Bowl, do you feel like, hey, can we get something else? What's the next step here?
Yeah, you always want the New Year's Six game, which was what was on the table for us then. And now the college football playoff, there's a seat at the table for teams that are like us. And that's the end goal. But, man, it's New Orleans is so good to us whenever we go. And to be honest with you, every bowl game is a blessing. Whenever I played here, 3 out of 4 years we were bowl eligible and didn't get an invite. And, that's hard. That's a really tough thing to look at your team and say, hey, we did what it, we did what it took to get there. We just kind of got left out. So we celebrate every opportunity we have to get there. Certainly we want more. The college football playoff is a spot that every non-autonomy conference school is fighting for, and we certainly want to be in that conversation. We know it takes a really special year to do that, but yeah, I mean that is the goal, right? That's the top of the mountain, and that's what we're scratching and clawing for now.
Yeah, well, Brian Mitchell, Jake Delhomme, they never played in the bowl game, and I think for the longest time, the Grantland Rice Bowl, I think, was the only one the Cajuns had ever played in at Memorial Stadium in Baton Rouge, if I'm not mistaken. Are you pretty good at block out the noise? So as a head coach, you get more credit than you deserve, you get more blame than you deserve. How do you stay away from social media and those kind of things?
Yeah, social media is an awful place. No, it's we use social media quite a bit in recruiting and in promoting our student athletes, university, and all that stuff. So
it's good to promote and spread things.
That's right.
Like this, but if you stay on there and start reading opinions, it's poison. Right?
Yeah, no, that's right. I mean, look, I think part of what makes college football so great is that so many people care about it, right? If it weren't for the fans and their engagement and their excitement about what we do, it wouldn't be what it is. So, they're entitled to their opinions and things like that. But the only opinions that matter are the opinions in our building. And that's, that's the thing that we constantly focus on. We talk about, ignore the noise is one of the things we talk about as a team quite a bit. Whether it's good noise, right? They're talking about how great you are, or it's bad noise. They're talking about how terrible you are. None of it affects what you do unless you let it. And that's the thing that we focus on, because that you learn that the hard way. I mean, I learned that the first day when I got hired. You have people reaching out to you, all this stuff, and it's someone messaged me, and it's all this good stuff, and then you're thanking people, all this stuff, and then you scroll down. There's some comments in there. It's like, whoa, better stay off of this thing and get out of this opinion world a little bit. And so you figure that out pretty early on, and playing quarterback, you kind of get a taste of that a little bit as a player. So it's part of it, and it's just part of what it is. Hopefully we give them good stuff to talk about.
Are we no longer calling this Cajun Field?
It's Our Lady of Lourdes Stadium at Cajun Field.
There you go.
We can't get rid of Cajun Field.
That's right. That's right. Okay, so $65 million you put into it, like you said. So you've got 34 new suites, 40 new loge boxes, 524 club seats, and the new capacity is going to be 30,000. Is that all correct?
Yeah, as far as I know. Yeah, that's
Yeah, you've got other things to do.
Yeah, I have a heavy interest in it, obviously, but I let the people who are building that thing take care of it. I got a lot more to worry about.
Well, for the longest time, it was 31,000. I, as a student, almost 30 years ago, oh my God, was on that hill when they beat Texas A&M. Despite all your great success, I think it's still the most famous victory in Cajuns history, if I'm not mistaken. But when they beat Texas A&M that night, tore down the goalposts and carried them to the keg on the strip, I think, if I'm not mistaken, and so forth.
Sounds probably right. Yeah, that sounds like a spot it would end up.
But yeah, it was 31,000 for the longest time. I think they had 36, 38,000 that night. Alabama came here. I went to that game, 1990.
Is that right?
Gene Stallings was the head coach, and Alabama won 25-6. Gary Hollingsworth was the quarterback, but you don't care about all this. But I'm just I was friends with Brandon Stokely. His dad was the head coach, Nelson Stokely, and some other. And so I remember coming to all those games. But maybe got in over their skis, bumped it up to 45,000. I think was the capacity at one point.
41, I think, was what it ended up being. It was 41 the last few years, I guess, since they added the end zone renovation in 13, 14, something like that.
Yeah, which kind of made it unique, being able to be up on the hills, and so they took one of the hills out. Regardless, so more intimate, smaller, and then your money is up in those suites.
Yeah.
Kind of like they're talking about in Baton Rouge. The PMAC, it's outdated. It needs suites and stuff. Right. So any thoughts on the stadium and the renovations?
Yeah, I think it's an experience that we haven't had here before. The premium seating experience, we saw what it did for us in baseball, when we redid the Teague. And the excitement about it, they sold out the suites, before the summer. In the spring, they had them all sold out. So, the excitement, I guess, in the, I don't want to say the need, but the appetite for it was certainly there. And I think that's kind of what it's coming down to. Is it's a lot about a fan experience. You can watch a game from home. And that's easier in a lot of senses. To get them there, you have to, you got to play good football. That's our job. We got to do that, right? We got to play well between the white lines. But I think the fan engagement piece is important. And for us, this will be a whole new experience. It's something the community is really excited about. And for our team, they're excited about playing it. I mean, the kids, that's all they've been talking about, all summer is they can't wait to get this thing started. I mean, they've been watching this. They watched the tear down and the build up. So, no, I think it's something that we desperately needed. We really didn't have a way to generate any revenue other than through season ticket sales, and the suites are big revenue generating, opportunities. So it's something that's good for us and that aspect of it. But certainly I think to fill Cajun Field and to get people excited about being there with a new experience is something that I really think is going to add to the game day, atmosphere and environment.
You have a battle going on at quarterback. Walker Howard, for sportscasters, it's just easy to write the storyline. Walker Howard comes home to Lafayette. St. Thomas More, his father, Jamie, of course, takes over the spot. Well, not so fast, okay? So there's two other guys at least he's got to beat out. Daniel Beal, we covered him at Catholic High in Baton Rouge, led him to a state championship. He was our player of the year. Lunch Winfield from Lutcher, we covered him as well, player of the year, state champion. So if you can, share your thoughts on this quarterback competition.
I think competition makes everybody better, and we love Lunch and Daniel. We were really excited about them. In reality, they're both young, and there was a little bit of a gap there just over the years, just kind of the way the quarterback thing played out. And, first of all, there was a real need for an older quarterback in that room, someone with a little bit more veteran presence. And then, Walker is a unique talent and a unique person more than anything. I've been knowing Walker since, he was a little kid. He played for my dad in middle school, so I've been knowing him a long time. And when the opportunity to add him to our team came along, that was something we couldn't pass up by nature of who he is and also the fit that we needed. And he came here, and I didn't promise him anything, promised him an opportunity to go out there and really compete. And, told all three of those guys, listen, hey, this is the best thing for our whole team, because when a team sees the quarterback position competing like that, it elevates their game. When one of those three guys gets in the huddle and they're approaching that rack, those 6 plays that they've got, like it's the most important thing they're ever going to do, like it's a game on Saturday night. Well, everyone else in that huddle feels that, and they better perform too. So it elevates the entire team, and the competition's been great. This spring there are 3 great kids. All 3 of them are winners. They've all won state championships. They're all great high school players. They're competitors. But they're great kids, and they compete with each other. I tell them all the time, competition doesn't mean you're against someone else. It means you're with them. And, to watch them go at it and do it the right way, they've all had their bright spots. But certainly this spring was really good. We made the quarterbacks live for spring scrimmages this year. Lunch hasn't really played quarterback in a live setting in a while. Neither has Walker. And Daniel played a little bit last year in some roles, but not to the extent that we exposed them to. So I think those things are good. I think at quarterback, the most important thing is how you handle the pressure, right? We talked about poise earlier, and I wanted to see that, when the bullets are flying and when you're going to stand in there, you're going to get hit on third down. You got to make a play, or you got to run for it. Wanted to see who was going to compete in those situations, and I was really pleased with all 3 of those guys and the way they did this spring.
And Beal, he came here to play. He understands what he's getting into.
Sure.
That was a tough spot for him last year, having to go in there, right?
Yeah, I was proud of him. I really was. That was a tough spot. We're playing a really good team. Our backup quarterback, who was also a senior, that our team loved to death and really believed in, he gets hurt in that game. The conditions weren't great. It's a really tough situation to be in, and I was proud of him, man. He went in there, he didn't blink, he competed, and Daniel's going to be a hell of a football player for us. He's young, and is his time now? Well, we're going to find out, but he'll have his moment at some point, and it'll be really good for us.
Well, I was talking to Jake Delhomme about that too, and just the fact that he's got all this eligibility in front of him, no matter what.
That's right.
So in this new era, you've done a pretty good job of retaining your players and keeping the impatience at bay.
Yeah. It was really unique that Chandler and Ben stayed here the way that they did, with really no promise of being the guy, but it benefited us. And our staff has done a really good job. We play a lot of players, not strictly with the intent of trying to keep them here. We play a lot of players that the ones that deserve to play, we play. And it helps us, throughout the course of the year, they get playing time as it goes, and it helps their development, where that way, You know, they might be a backup this year, but they're playing 25% of the snaps in a game. We see them play well. We know next year when the starter graduates that we're good. Like, that's the natural order of things as you continue to develop and move up in your role and you contribute at a higher level to the team.
Because you played that position, is that where you gravitate to during practice, or?
Yeah, so I coach the quarterbacks with Cade Minton. He's our analyst that helps me with the quarterbacks, but I coach them every day. I'm in the meetings every day. We're the way our staff is set up, we have 2 O-line coaches that are full-time coaches on the staff that I feel is really important. You know, I mean, you know, you got 18 O-linemen on the team. That's a lot to handle, and that's the most important position to be able to get to play all on the same page. It's hard for 5 guys to move and think and communicate as one. So I coach a position, and coaching the quarterbacks is something that, you know, I enjoy doing. It kind of happened out of necessity, you know, just kind of the way we filled our staff out. But I do enjoy it. I get to spend time with those guys every day, and certainly I get a firsthand look at the approach they take to meetings, to walkthroughs, to practice. And I know how hard they prepare to go out there and have success.
I know you got a lot of coaches who are very valuable. I think you mentioned George Munoz. I mean, certainly in Baton Rouge on that 2019 LSU team, a lot of people said that because of his quiet demeanor, maybe he didn't get as much credit as he deserved for Joe Burrow and all those guys. But what kind of addition or what kind of guy is he on your staff?
George is really – that's been a cool thing for me. You know, he coached me my senior year here. He was my offensive coordinator. And I really valued our relationship, and I valued his approach and the way that he coached me and got me to play the best football I'd played since I'd been here. He actually brought me back on when Coach Hud was here. He was on the staff and was a real big part of me getting hired here. So when I got the job, I knew I had one position I was going to be able to hire. And he was the first person I called. And I actually turned the tight ends over to him, which was a group that I'd coached for 4 years under Coach Napier. So that was my guys. That was my baby.
Had to let them go, huh?
I did, you know, but it had to be the right person. And you know, he's our associate head coach. He helps me with all the game day management stuff. He's our situation expert. You know, he goes through all these situations, and we have this period every Thursday, and we do it in walkthroughs in fall camp where we talk about different scenarios that may or may not ever come up in a game. But you have to understand the situation. He's just really cerebral. He's one of the most disciplined people I've ever been around, just with his diligence and the way he does things. And he's made us better from day one with all those things, but schematically as well. You know, whenever, you know, we got in here in the spring of 22, we looked at everything we're doing and constantly trying to find ways to make it better. And he had a lot of really good insight and a lot of really good valuable opinions and thoughts on how we should do things that we've adopted, and it certainly made us better.
Some kids we covered in the Baton Rouge area that I'd like to ask you about. Shelton Sampson, you added him in the offseason, wide receiver from Catholic High. Obviously, he was very highly recruited, has a lot of ability. He gets a fresh start here in Lafayette.
Sometimes that's what you need, you know. And that's where, you know, the transfer portal, you got some people that they hate it. And it's like, well, you know, there are situations where it's a good thing. And we have guys that leave, you know, because they can't get what they want or what they think they should get here. And that's part of it, you know. And for Shelton, you know, we talked about it. It's like, you know, look, you gotta make some changes probably in the way that you did things. But the good thing is you get to come here with a fresh start and start over. No one knows anything about you. There are no opinions. And he's been phenomenal in his approach to it. You know, watching him from day one in the offseason, he doesn't say anything. He goes to work. He works really hard. He'll take as many reps as you give him. He's got a high work capacity. He's grown up as a leader, even still as a young player. He's a guy that we're tremendously excited about. I think his ceiling is very high. I think he's got a chance to be, you know, absolutely one of the best receivers in this league, and certainly one of the better ones that we've ever had since I've been here. So I couldn't give Shelton more praise for the way he's come in here, and just, I mean, everything that he's done has been on the money, and he works really hard, and he's been a great teammate. So I'm excited for him, excited for us, and I can't wait to see him do it on Saturdays.
I just jotted this name down. I know he hasn't played a whole lot, but I went to North Vermilion, so I had to bring up Dale Martin, wide receiver, redshirt senior on the team. Let's throw him at least one ball this year.
Dale had a big catch last year in the first game of the year. Chandler and Dale had a big connection.
Okay.
No, Dale's one of those guys, we talk about a lot of these core guys that have been here for a long time, and, they're kind of just a heartbeat of what it is, and I think the team, he's one of those guys, he's all about the team and whatever it takes for our team to have success, and he's working, really hard to be on and get as many special teams roles as he can to get himself in position where when the opportunity comes, he is ready to go play when he gets that shot. But no, Dale is they don't make him a whole lot better than Dale. He's a good one.
All right, Norfolk Moon Patriot from Leroy, Louisiana. Right. So I'm looking at it. Not that 3 is a ton of players, but you've got 3 guys from Zachary, the Broncos. Yeah. I talked to David Brewerton today about you. He says you're doing a great job, great coach. So you got Charles Robertson at wide receiver. Caught 17 balls last year. You've got Ashley Williams. He's a linebacker, redshirt sophomore. He played in all your games last year. And you have Ethan Veal as well. He's a younger player who is coming along. So those 3 guys and your connection with the Broncos they're a state championship program. I guess that makes sense, right? You go where the players are.
They are, and it's a really well-run program. Coach Brew, I have a ton of respect for him and the way that they do things. Their kids get here, and they don't really – there's not much acclimation period for them. They get here, they're used to work, they enjoy the work, they're tough, they're hard-nosed, they know how to practice, and they love to play. So for us, getting those guys, getting Charles out of high school was a really good get for us. He was committed to us, blew up late, and we kind of held on, and Charles was, he was steady as the day goes. He was good from the jump. And Ashley is one that I think we were his first offer when he was going into his senior year, and then his recruiting took off, and we got him on the bounce back out of the transfer portal, and he's just been phenomenal for us. Smile on his face every day, loves to play, loves to work. One of those guys that's just kind of infectious, being around. He's played really good. This year he's going to have a great year for us. And then Ethan Veal is a young player. We're really excited about Ethan. He's a linebacker, a little bit undersized, kind of was a safety early in his career, moved to linebacker. Still learning that position, but athletically, is just, is exactly what you want in today's game at linebacker. He's tough. He can really run. He's physical. As time goes on, Ethan's going to be a really good player. For us this year, we talked about, you got to own as many special teams roles as you can because he can run and hit, got to run down the field, make an impact. And that way, as you continue to learn that linebacker position. But he's made some big strides this past year throughout spring and the summer, and getting himself ready to contribute more this year. As a redshirt last year, he played in three or four games last year and still was able to keep his red shirt.
So you've got 2 Parkview Baptist linebackers, right? Micah Johnson and Caleb Cabody. Sorry. So what about those 2 guys? What are they contributing to the team?
So Caleb's a senior, been here a long time. He's a guy that, we expect to really provide depth in that linebacker position. We lost a couple really good ones last year. He missed some time this spring because he actually graduated this spring, so he had to finish up some schoolwork. But, he's a veteran guy who can handle that type of thing. Big, fast, physical athlete. And for us this year, I expect him to play a major role in that defense and on teams and things like that. Micah Johnson's another young one who, his career is a little bit like Ethan's. He was a receiver and a safety in high school and moved to linebacker as a senior. He's starting to figure it out a little bit more. He's been in this program a little bit longer, so starting to figure out how to play the position a little bit better. But Micah's going to be a really good player for us too. This year, I'm hoping he can start cracking into that mix a little bit on defense, but certainly, again, guy on kickoff and kickoff return and punt and all these things, you expect him to impact the game in that way.
The Central Wildcats won their first state championship in, I think it was close to 60 years. Steve Rennell, the second, was a big part of that. He's a freshman coming in for you.
This freshman class has been really impressive so far this summer. Certainly they haven't had pads on, and we haven't, really been out in a true team setting with that type of scenario, but the little bit we kind of get to see them move around and what they're doing in practice, Steven's certainly no exception. We're playing him at safety. He played corner at Central. Our thing was just there's no way he's not going to grow into a safety. He's a big, long, athletic kid. He's picked it up really well. I think he's a guy that's going to be a mainstay here for a long time.
Jaden Gloston from U-High, another freshman DB.
Yep. Jaden was a kid at U-High that was really impressive, man. He played all over the place. He played all 5 positions in the backfield. That versatility is invaluable. on any team, but especially, you got scholarship limits and roster limits and all these other things. So Gloston's, again, another one. We signed a big DB group in that freshman class, and you always think you hit on it, right? Obviously that's why you sign them, and then whenever they get here, it's just fun to see it all in action, and he's one that, we certainly hit on too. We have a veteran secondary this year, especially at safety. So to say those guys will play a lot this year, I don't know that. We'll figure it out in fall camp. But what I'll say is that they will play here for a long time, when their time comes, and it'll probably be sooner than later.
Breck Schultz, a kicker from Live Oak. Is he going to compete?
Well, it might be the most important, battle we've got going on here, at kicker after losing Kenny, the Lou Groza winner. No, he's definitely going to compete. We have 3 kickers, Logan Klotz and Tony Sterner and Breck, and all 3 of those guys right now through the summer taking equal reps. We're going to have to weed it down from 3 to 2 pretty soon. But Breck came in. He's really a swing guy for us, which is important. We have one true punter on the roster, so him having the ability to do both is big. He's a guy that we recruited really hard, to get to come over here. And, thankfully he said yes, because I think he does bring some value in that swing, being able to punt and kick. And, so far, again, in the summer we don't get a ton of time with him. He's competing well. He's out there and he's hitting the ball good. And, I don't care how old they are. If they can help us win, then we're going to roll them out there. So, we'll kind of see how that plays out too.
Awesome. Appreciate your time. Just a couple more things. Lester Jones, he played at Liberty, redshirt sophomore line. He's at linebacker?
Yeah, he's an outside linebacker for us, yeah. Lester's really talented. He's kind of had a little bit of an injury history, unfortunately, as a young player. So hopefully we're getting out of that. Just kind of some broke his foot last year in off-season conditioning, didn't get to go through spring. So really talented kid. I think we have some good older players in the outside linebacker room, but we got a handful of young guys that they need to really compete. Maybe it's not for this year, but for next year to see who's ready to go, and Lester's certainly one of them.
All right, I know one of your more talented players is Jacques Harrington on the offensive line. I just get a kick out of the fact you got a guy from Erath playing on the offensive line. You should go get another one from Delcom, maybe, and then bookends.
If they got one that's ready, we're going to try to go get them. It's funny. We talk about, I think Erath, really other than the Faroux brothers, which some people won't know who that is, but they're about my age. I don't know if they've had a Division I, signee since those 2 guys, and we got both of them, and one of them's playing in the NFL now, and we got Jacques here who's got a chance to do it. So we're going to keep going to Erath and Oliver Million Parish to make sure if they got one, we get them.
Yeah, we used to call them Earth in high school, and their basketball court was carpet.
I remember that.
You play on it was the weirdest thing, playing on a carpet court over in Erath.
I remember that.
Okay, your schedule. So you open with Rice and a home game here, and then McNeese. I think the old school Cajun fans. The McNeese game used to be just this huge rivalry that would pack the stadium in the 70s and 80s and everything too.
Yeah, the McNeese game's still really important here to a lot of people. A lot of the more recent grads don't have that experience with it, but I think it's cool. And I think playing in-state FCS teams, if you're going to play one a year, I love playing the in-state guys. I mean, why not? We've recruited some of their kids. They've recruited some of ours. Our kids have gone to school with them. They know each other. Certainly now there's a lot of connection between the 2 staffs. And then the fan bases. The fan bases that have been around McNeese and UL football for a long time, that rivalry still means something now. And, I expect there to be a really good crowd, hopefully every game this year. But, McNeese is one that, people – they still show up for, and so we got a good schedule. We got to be ready to handle our business.
You're going to play an SEC team. You're going to Missouri, and I'm sure you have every intent to go win that football game and take it on. One SEC team. That's kind of what you want to do on your schedule, or somebody in that regard.
Yeah, that's a conversation that Dr. Mager and I have had. If we can keep this thing tracking the way we want to. I playing 2 would be an ideal scenario. Those are the games that really kind of put you in position to go do something special, and you talk about a college football playoff spot. Look, if you can't beat some of these teams, then you're not going to get in there. That's just the reality of it. So those games are important to us, and certainly I don't mean that in any kind of negative way towards any of them. I mean, I have a ton of respect for Coach Drinkwitz, what he did at App, what he's doing there. they are a really talented team. I mean, I think they've always got really talented pieces out there, and we're going to have our hands full. But, I mean, if you want to be there in the end, at some point you got to find out where you are. And so, for us, those are games that we look forward to because, we think we belong on that stage, and, you got to go in there and go find out if you do.
There's another SEC team about 50 miles to the east of you. Yeah. LSU and the Cajuns haven't played since 2009, I believe. Would you be interested in playing them?
I would. I think that there's no reason for, I think Coach Kelly said it the other day, why would we not play the in-state schools? I agree. I don't know what bad comes from that. I have a ton of respect for them. Certainly I think they do things the right way. They've got a great football team, great program. Well, to me, that's a great game for us to play. I got to play there whenever I was a sophomore in 2006. That was awesome, great experience. Loved it, every second of it, And I think for us, it's something that our kids, why wouldn't we want to play there? I mean, it's a bus ride down the road instead of a plane flight. It's in-state. It's playing against kids that our players have grown up playing against. And so to me, yeah, I think that'd be awesome to get to play them.
How well do you know Brian Kelly? Do you know him at all, or just casually, or?
I don't know him very well. I know more of the guys on his staff. I know Joe Sloan and some of those guys that just we've kind of been around the same circles a little bit longer. I don't know him. I have a ton of respect for him. I mean, when you win everywhere you go, it means you know what you're doing, and he wins everywhere he goes. And they've been really good to us. The relationship between us and them has been great. We go to their place. They asked us to go and speak at their clinic this year that they had, which we appreciated being involved in that. They allow us to go to their football camps and go evaluate and do those things. So, again, nothing but gratitude for the relationship that we have with those guys.
Sloan's a good guy. He's kind of like you, kind of played the position coming up the ranks.
He's a great guy. I remember whenever I was just getting into college coaching, I was over here. He was at La Tech. We didn't play or anything at the time, but we recruited same kids, and he was great. On the road, like hey, I noticed have you been to this school? They got these guys there. I mean, he was phenomenal. So he's someone that I have a ton of respect for. I'm happy for him and his career and the direction it's taken, and I think a lot of that staff over there, I think they've got really good guys on that staff, and Joe's as good as anyone there is for sure.
Awesome. You're playing one Thursday night game.
Yeah.
In previous years, y'all have played the Tuesday, the Wednesday, the Thursday. There's give and take with that, right? The national exposure, but then, hey, I can't get a babysitter, or I can't make it to a Tuesday night game. Sometimes your attendance has suffered. So what is your view on? It's a road game. You won't play it here. Pack a coat, November 20th at Arkansas State, but it would be chilly, I'm sure. But what are your thoughts on those kind of games?
Yeah, if we could play them all on the road, it'd be great. No, it's look, it's kind of part of the deal in our league that makes it a little bit unique. It gives you some unique preparation weeks on both ends. Sometimes getting ready for it on a short week, and sometimes having a little bit extra time on the back end of it. Which makes you have to be creative in the way you approach those preparation weeks. Any chance that our guys get to play on national television is a good thing. And our conference has done a great job of saying, hey, yeah, look, we'll take these spots, and they try to match up teams that us and Arkansas State. This is you talk about rivalries in McNeese and all these other places. That's one that goes pretty deep too. It's been a really good rivalry, healthy rivalry. But man, that's one that that's one that's always circled on the calendar because there's typically a lot on the line. Our programs have mirrored each other for a long time. Mm-hmm. So the opportunity to play up there on a Thursday night, where you're the only game on TV is always something that's special. In recruiting, that's a good thing. Everybody gets to watch us play. And you want to go out there and have a good showing for sure.
All right. And finally, student engagement, is it good here? I know when I went to school here, it was sometimes a hard getting them from the parking lot and the beer into the stadium was sometimes a challenge when I went to school here. And are they engaged in this program? Are they coming?
That challenge still exists sometimes, but no, it's been good. We've actually given them the practice field on right here, one of the practice fields to tailgate on, so it's right next to the gate. No, it's been good, but look, we're constantly working on ways to continue to get fan engagement, which includes the students involved. My wife went meet with the Panhellenic Council, this week to talk about things that we can do. I'm always willing to kind of talk and figure out ways that we can continue to get people engaged because, we want Saturdays at Cajun Field to be the place to be. And I think when you're a student here, I think we're over 16,000 students now. Man, there's no reason why we can't have a great showing every week. And I'm grateful for the ones that do. I thought last year was awesome. I really did. I thought last year the students were there, and they were there for every game. They were loud. And we just want that to be kind of the mainstay.
All right. Coach, thanks so much for your time. Really enjoyed visiting with you today.
Thank you.
Best of luck this season, and thanks for stopping by Jacques Talk. We'll see you later.